Hello and welcome back to Reaseheath College in the construction department. My name's Andrew Gould, I'm the curriculum area manager at the department, and today we're going to go through the process, some of the tools and equipment of how to repoint an area of brickwork, and we're doing that in partnership with the charity Building Heroes, who retrain military veterans, and they come here at Reaseheath College and do a property maintenance course. So first and foremost, when you do some repointing, it could be a variety of reasons why you've got to repoint your brickwork. It could be somebody's already done it once and made a mess, or it's actually failing. Now if it's failing, really you need to try and determine why it's failing, because obviously it might be something that you need to deal with first in order to stop it failing again. But generally it's just general wear and tear, and it's starting to deteriorate. So first of all, we'll go through some of the tools and equipment. As always, health and safety, you've got to be wearing the right PPE to protect yourself from any accidents or any substances that might be around. So we would always have our gloves. You're definitely going to need a set of some safety glasses because you're going to be using a hammer and chisel and potentially an angle grinder as well. A dust mask for the same reason. There's going to be a lot of debris flying around with some dust, and the last thing you need is to be inhaling any of that. Now tooling wise, we've got a range of tools. So obviously you're going to need some trowels. So we've got a 10-inch brick trowel and we've got a small pointing trowel. These are probably predominantly the ones that you're going to be using the most. There are other sizes of trowels, but I wouldn't go for a larger trowel if you're new to this. We've then got a jointing bar. This is a half round joint. Back in the day when I was a lad, it used to be called a bucket handle, because again all the buckets on site used to be galvanised metal, and the handles to the buckets made really good jointing bars, so the side was full of buckets with no handles. Looked like a bucket graveyard. And also you're going to need a plug and chisel, which if you've watched the repairing brickwork video you'll have already seen this, but I'll go over it again. And also a lump hammer, club hammer, and this is a £3 one. It's not too heavy. If you're going to be doing a lot of knocking, the last thing you need is a really heavy hammer to be wielding all day long. This is some additive for the mortar, and again I've already done a video on mortar mixing, so you can check on the website and see what this is used for and how to produce a decent mix in order to do some repointing. Now obviously things have moved on from when we used to just use a hammer and chisel to knock out, so we've now got an angle grinder, and again I'm using cordless because from a health and safety point of view there's no trailing cables. It's a lot more portable, you can go wherever you want, and it's just a lot easier. So if we come a little bit closer, you can see that the disc I've got on here is about 8mm thick. It's called a mortar raking disc. So it actually takes out a bigger piece of the bed joint. There are other discs available, but I particularly like this one when you're doing repointing because it just makes it a little bit easier. This is a diamond disc, so you've always got to check it for any damage, which you would do anyway. If you were using the old type of discs, it's an absolute priority that you check that, because with the old carbon discs, if there was any chunks missing or any excessive wear, it would be really dangerous to use that. But with diamond disc, they're a little bit more hardy, but still important to check. As it is with the tool, when you're using any power tool, you've got to check the body of the drill, the body of the grinder, check for any imperfections. If there's anything wrong with the drill and you're not happy with it, do not use it. The grinder, don't use it. We've just done a video on drills. So always check this. If it was a corded angle grinder, you've got to check the cord. Again, there's a good video that we've already done about checking the cords and why that's important. Now this particular grinder, if I just start it up for you, this is a really good one because it's an up-to-date one and it's got an automatic brake. So as soon as I take the power off, it stops the disc. Now if you're using one of these at home, you might have an older type and the disc will whiz round and round and round for a while. And one of the dangers there is you may put the grinder down and go to do some more work, and inadvertently you might touch the disc as it's still rotating. So it's just a safety mechanism that's on this particular one that makes it a lot safer to use. So those are the tools we're going to do. Okay, so we're ready to think about raking out the existing joints. As you can see, this is a little bit untidy, so we're going to make this look a bit neater. So we're going to rake out the mortar. Now it's really important that when you do this, we have to take out the old mortar in order for the new mortar to fit in and bed in nicely. So you need to rake out this mortar, and it's got to be a minimum of 10 millimeters deep, probably to a maximum of 15 millimeters. If it's shallower than 10 millimeters, the chances are that when you repoint it during the winter, it's gonna peel out and come out. So it's got to have a good area to key into. It's important that the joint is fully raked out. You don't want any debris in there, especially dust, because again, the new mortar you're going to put in there just isn't going to stick. The danger of going too deep when you're raking out is, as you'll see when we do the repointing, it can be quite difficult to fill the mortar joint. So if you go too deep, you might find yourself leaving a void behind, and again, that could lead to more problems than you're actually solving. So we're gonna start with the plugging chisel. So again, with the plugging chisel, you can see it's a nice flat blade, and that's because it fits in the nice 10mm joint. And you can see that there's a chamfer on the plugging chisel. So that goes into the joint, and as I hit with the chisel, it slides across and it should pull the joint out. Now if the wall of the joint is relatively soft, then this is an option you can use. Obviously we'll go over the grinder in a minute. But basically you pop the plugging chisel in there. Oh, hang on. Obviously I need to put my safety glasses on first. And I'm going to put a mask on. I'm not going to be creating a terrific amount of dust, but silica dust and mortar dust is quite dangerous, so it's better to take the precautions than put the mask on. So we'll do that. So on the mask, you just pinch in the nose. There's a little strip on there just to make it airtight around your face, which is really important. And we've got the goggles, so now we're ready to go. So again, so you can see there that we've started to take the mortar joint out using the plugging chisel. There's no mortar at the top of the joint and at the bottom of the joint, and we've gone in a really decent thickness there. All that'll be left to do is to clean the dust out of that joint, because now we're going to do the fun bit. We're going to use the angle grinder. So obviously the dust mask is absolutely a priority in this instance. Now when you're holding the angle grinder, you've got to be confident, okay? Don't be tentative and fearful of it. This is a really good long, it's a little bit different to the older grinders that certainly Reaseheath used to do. It's got quite a long body, so it's more balanced, so it's quite sturdy to hold. And again, the handle on the side is vitally important. It does unscrew, it can come around the other side if you're left or right handed. But please don't try and operate an angle grinder without this in place. It's there for your safety, to give you the ultimate stability whilst holding it. So I'm going to start it up, and you've just got to try and hold it steady and follow the mortar joint. If you're a little bit wavy with it, you could end up taking chunks out the brick. So it is a delicate process, but once the blade's in the joint, it pretty much guides itself. And as long as you're nice and steady, it's not going to make any chunks out of the brick. you can now see that I've taken the joint out there all the way around. I've done the cross joints, what we call the perp joints, and you've just got to make sure you've got everything out. You might need to go at it with the plug-in chisel after to just get any of the debris out, but then once you've done the whole wall, you're then ready to think about the repointing. So I mentioned at the start that it's really vital that you get all the debris and dust out, and one of the easiest methods is once you've got it all ground out, to get a hose pipe watering can and just literally go in the joints, and you'll see all the debris and the muck run down the wall, and that will have freed everything up. Now when we come to do the repointing, these are a Cheshire Common, so they're really porous, and it's not too sunny today, so it's not too bad. But if it was a hot day, you can see already this water's been absorbed into the brickwork. As this video goes on a bit longer, you'll see it just drying out in front of your eyes. And that causes a problem when you're repointing, because you'll have your mortar mixture, you'll put it in, and before you know it, it'll be going off because the brickwork's taking all the moisture out of the mortar. So you might have to continually dampen this down to make it easier to do the repointing. Other types of brick you would put nowhere near any water on it at all, because the newer bricks are probably a little bit more harder fired, and therefore they repel the water rather than absorb it. So you could be creating yourself a problem, but that's just experience, knowing what types of bricks and materials you're using. So we're sort of ready now, so I'll get some mortar and I'll show you how we do the repoint. Something I didn't show you in the initial video, tool equipment, this is called a hawk or a handboard, and if you were doing a lot of repointing, then you may want to use this because it's a little bit more comfortable. I still prefer to use a trowel, but that's just because I'm a bit old and long in the tooth, and it's what I prefer to do. But I just thought I'd show you that's another tool that you could use. Okay. So you don't need too much mortar on the trowel. I've got a little bit here, and this is a slightly different consistency to the mortar that we mix for laying a brick, because you just need it a little bit stiffer, because if it's too runny you're going to get it all over the face of the brick. So all I would need to do is I'm just putting mortar on there, and you can see I'm making a little bit of a ramp like a ski slope on there, and then all I'm going to do is get the pointed trowel, and whilst holding the trowel slightly elevated, I'm just pushing that up, and as you can see there, we get a lovely little wedge shaped piece of mortar, which means the pointy end of that can go into the joint without getting it on the brick. So you would normally do your perps first, so all you're doing is putting that in there and tucking that in, and then again prepare it on the joint, get it in, and again push in. It's really important that you get that motion of tucking it in. What you don't want to do is just apply it to the face and think you've done the job. You've got to make sure you push it right in to fill the void, okay? And that's why it's important we don't go too deep as well. And I know I'm making this probably look a little bit easier than you're going to find it, but the trick is don't put too much on your trowel. Small amounts, you're not going to make a mess. If you go like that, you're going to end up with it all over the face of the brickwork, and you'll probably get a little bit frustrated. So small is best. You can always add more. And once you've done the perps, then you can go into the bed joint. It's exactly the same process. You put it on, and you can see there how I'm tucking it right into the back of the joint. Yeah, you're feeding it in. Then I could come back to there and top it up. And again, you've got to do this in a reasonably fast fashion, because what you don't want to do is the mortar going off. Okay, and it's exactly the same process over and over again. Small amount of mortar, tuck it into the back of the joint, and just keep going. It's a very monotonous type of job. I mean, I particularly like repointing because I'm stood still, and once you're set up, it's I find it quite therapeutic, to be honest. Not running around laying 500 bricks a day, getting all out of breath, especially when you get to my age. So again, I'm just going to carry on tucking that in there, making sure that it's full. I can't tell you how important it is, because if you don't make that effort to push that in, it will fall out. and you'll say, blimey, that Andy Gould showed me how to do repointing and it's just fallen out. I can assure you, if you do it this way, it'll stay in. I can take you around the potteries to countless buildings that I've repointed in my 30 odd years, and I'm always boring my family saying, I built that, I did that. Part of the perks of the job, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to stop there for a second, because what you've got to bear in mind is, as I've mentioned before in the previous video, this mortar is going to go off quite quick just because of the type of brick that we're using. It's going to go off really quickly, so you've got to use your judgment and you've got to keep on top of that, because otherwise it'll go off and you won't be able to do anything with it and you're going to have to take it back out. So you've constantly got to be on your guard, and don't do too much of an area before going back and doing the repointing. I'll just finish this little bit off and then I'll move to the next bit. Okay, so I can tell now that this is starting just to take a little bit. It's starting to dry out, so I've got to be careful. So I'm going to stop. Like I say, don't go too far, because you'll end up getting frustrated because it'll go off before you can get to it and it'll be a waste of your time. So we're doing something called weatherstruck. As you can see on this, a weatherstruck is where you just put a slight chamfer on the joint so the water runs off. Now when you're pointing, whether it be with the bucket handle or the pointing trowel, it's really important that you're putting a nice shine compressed finish on the top layer of the joint. That's making it harder for the water to penetrate. So it's really important that you don't drag it across. You certainly don't brush your brickwork straight away, because that will undo all the good work. You might want to brush it later to get rid of some of the excess mortar, but certainly not until the joint's gone off, because it's just a waste of time. So I'm going to do the weatherstruck, and again I'm just going on a slight angle and tucking in and just pulling the trowel down like so, and then I move on to the next pair and do exactly the same. Okay, so once I've done that, you do all your perps first, and I'll explain why in a moment. Hopefully you'll understand why that's the case. So once you've done all the perps, you then move to the bed joint. And again, you're tucking it in on the underside of the top brick, but leaving it flush on the brick below. And again, it's just applying pressure and pulling that across. I always go over first and scrape some of the excess mortar off, and then go over again. And you might want to scrape again. Okay, and I'll do it again on the bottom, come straight through, and this comes with practice. You'll get the trowel snagged on a brick, it'll pull some of it out, but again it comes with practice, and with uneven bricks it is ever so slightly more difficult. So once I've done that, hopefully you can see that there's little snots here that have been made up. Now a lot of bricklayers would get a brush and brush that off, but you have to do something called top and tailing. Okay, so literally with the pointed trowel with nothing on it, I'm just taking the roughness off there, and the same at the bottom, and the same there, same at the bottom, just getting rid of the little overlapping mortar. Okay, and that's it. You've done your brickwork, and then you'll move on. The one thing I'll just guard against is it's important that you do all your grinding out first. I've just done a very small area just for the purpose of the demonstration, but if you were doing this wall, you would grind it all out first, wash it down, clear all your debris up, have a nice clean safe working area, and then you would start to repoint. If you were doing this entire wall, when you're doing the repointing, you always start at the top and work your way down. Okay, because if you start at the bottom and work your way up, potentially anything that you're washing out after is going to fall on the work that you've already done. So always work from the top, work your way down. You can potentially grind the top meter out, repoint it, grind out the bottom to repoint it. If you did it vice versa, all the debris would fall on the work that you've already done. So it's a little bit counterproductive. So that's the video concluded for today. I hope that's been useful. Obviously we do adult courses and weekend courses on basic bricklaying, brick repair and repointing, so take a look at the website and have a look out for them. And thank you very much. See you later.